Hello, good afternoon. We begin with breaking news from the United States, where the Supreme Court in Washington has rejected President Trump's attempt to limit what's called birthright citizenship. The ruling upholds 150 years of legal precedent, meaning babies born on American soil are automatically US citizens. The court's decision is a major challenge to Trump's agenda to reduce immigration. Let's go straight to our US correspondent, David Blevins, who is outside the Supreme Court. David, what was President Trump trying to achieve here?
Well, President Trump, on his very first day in office, Jane, signed an executive order effectively abolishing the age-old birthright to US citizenship. His lawyers argued that it was never meant to apply to the children of people here unlawfully or here on temporary visas. Opponents said that it had been established, the precedent had been established over 100 years. It's actually 150 years since the 14th Amendment to the Constitution was ratified to give citizenship to former slaves and their children, and the Supreme Court has upheld the Constitution. The ruling is 194 pages long, so it's going to take us a little bit of time to digest that, but this is the key line. The justices hold that children born in the United States to parents unlawfully or temporarily present are, and I quote, subject to the jurisdiction of the United States and are citizens at birth under the 14th Amendment's citizenship clause. So the status quo remains. This would not have stripped citizenship from children who already have it, from people who have already been born in the United States. It would only have applied to those born after the date of the executive order. But let me just remind you that there are somewhere in the region of 3.5 million babies born in the United States every year, and an estimated 1 in 12 of them would have lost their right to citizenship had the President's executive order been allowed to stand.
And David, also the Supreme Court ruling on a couple of other things today. So a win for President Trump in terms of those born male competing in female sports in a couple of states.
Yeah, the birthright citizenship was the big one because the President has talked so much about it, and it was the most significant attempt, Jane, in generations to redefine what it means to be a US citizen. But the court on this, its final day of the term, has ruled on a couple of other things. In terms of the transgender issue, it has ruled that the states of Idaho and West Virginia did not violate the Constitution or federal law in prohibiting transgender girls from competing in girls' sports. That will be deemed a win for the President, given how often he talks about keeping men out of women's sports. In fact, a short time ago he posted online that this is a big win. The United States Supreme Court just ruled against men playing in women's sports, all capitals. Wow, that takes that ridiculous situation off the table. And in another ruling, it's gone in the favour of the now Vice President J.D. Vance, who took a case to the Supreme Court when he was a nominee to the Senate, arguing that curbs on campaign funding were a breach of the First Amendment, his right to freedom of speech, and the Supreme Court has upheld that. So to some extent it's been 2-1 to the President, but the big one is birthright citizenship, and he'll be very disappointed by that. You'll remember that the other big hit he took here earlier in the year related to tariffs, when the Supreme Court decided that the Emergency Economic Powers Act he used to introduce reciprocal tariffs did not apply. He did not have the executive authority to do that and would have to repay those tariffs. That effectively demolished a key part of his economic policy. He's now lost a key part of his immigration policy too.
OK, David, thanks very much.